Hey guys, welcome back to DIY Projects with Pete. In today's episode, we're going to do a basic overview of how to install a vinyl plank floor in your home, or in our case, an outbuilding, which we use as a backyard office and then a hockey rink warming house in the winter. All right, let's get to it. We'll start by removing the old flooring and then prepping for the new luxury planks. The 3/4-inch horse stall mats work great for walking on them with ice skates, but I wanted a nicer floor for the rest of the year when it's used as an office and a hangout spot, and the rubber mats actually still smelled a lot more than I thought they would, especially in the summer months when they'd heat up, so I'll most likely be going with a new solution this season. We'll prepare to install the luxury vinyl plank flooring, first by removing the baseboard trim, and then using pliers to remove any nails. Use a 5-in-1 tool or a putty knife to scrape any glue or high spots off the subfloor. Pry out staples and make sure all nail or screw heads are flush with the surface. Use a long level to check that your floor is flat and fairly level in both directions and across the seams. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want any big humps or low spots under the vinyl planks. A sander comes in handy for removing any additional high spots or to smooth out seams a bit. Once your preparation is all complete, we'll do one last cleaning here with the broom and the vacuum. So I'm just going to go around the perimeters with the vacuum, and then I'll sweep everything up. I had a couple old cans of Kills oil-based sealer in the garage, so I decided I would do 2 coats to seal up the floor and protect it in case liquid gets spilled and goes under the new floor. Now this doesn't take long, it dries super quick, and it's worth doing on a shed floor in my opinion. Go ahead and measure your room. The depth of ours inside is about 11.5 feet, and the total width is 19.3 feet. The width of the plank is 9 inches. Do a little math to help decide how many rows you'll need and how many square feet of material to buy. I picked up the same brand of vinyl planks I'd used in the past, and you'll want to let them acclimate a few days in the shed prior to installing them to prevent expansion and contraction issues. For a small space like this one, you can quickly lay out the boards to get an idea of how the rows are going to look. So there's the spacers on the first side. All these boards are clicked together. You can see the last row is going to need about 2 inches taken off its width so it will fit, and this is going to look just fine, but if you end up with a real narrow last board, you may want to split the difference and cut that first row and last row similar in width so it looks more uniform. Getting the first couple rows installed is always the most tedious because you want to ensure that it's all lined up perfect so that the rest of the rows and project go together smoothly. Use spacers to maintain a gap between the wall for expansion and contraction. And then I like to have about 2 to 3 boxes open at one time so I can look at all the boards and mix and match them to get some variation that I like. And then we'll just put them into place. Mark where you want to make your cut for that last board in the row and leave about a 1/4 inch gap for expansion and contraction of the material. There's a lot of different ways you could cut the vinyl, and I'm just using a razor blade for today's project. We have the cut, we just snap it, and then we can finish it on the back side. And then we'll be able to start that next row over here. Every brand is going to have slightly different specifications and instructions for how they recommend installing their products, so definitely read those to figure out the best pattern to use, how to stagger the boards correctly, and the minimum board length to use so that your install goes smoothly and looks good for many years to come. When making your end cuts, always double check that you're cutting from the correct side so that you'll be able to use the remaining part of the board as the starter for your next row. Again, try to have a few boxes open at a time to mix and match so you get a good looking variation of planks, and continue installing 1 row at a time. You'll find that the rows will go quickly and it's close to instant gratification, especially with the wide 9-inch planks like we're using today. A table saw and a jigsaw will come in handy for cutting the planks that go near walls or a hearth like this one, and I'll actually be modifying the hearth in front of the fireplace to expand it with more concrete board in the near future so I don't get sparks from the fireplace on the vinyl once I start making fires again. Thanks for following along so far, and hopefully this is giving you a good overview of the process in case you're looking to do something similar. I'm going to give today's sponsor, who helps make videos like this possible, a quick shout out, and then we'll be back to the project. So I've been using the Bluetti power station the past few weeks around the property, and it's been a lot of fun to see what it can do. Now, if you're looking to get temporary power to a shed or an outbuilding, this could be a great solution for you. For instance, I can plug this warming house into it, and it shows that the lights, the computer, the Wi-Fi router, and electronics are using about 213 watts, and it could power those items for 10.1 hours, which is pretty cool. Our family's already found a ton of great ways to use it, and we have plans on how we're going to use it in the future. So I thought I'd share a few ideas on how you could use it for yourself, your family, or for your next big adventure. I'd like to give a big thank you to Bluetti for sponsoring today's video. This is the Bluetti Elite 200 V2 2600 watt portable power station. The Bluetti can power all sorts of things like a grinder and a coffee machine, so you can grind and brew coffee while camping or RVing out in the wilderness and off the grid, just like you do at home. You could also plug your RV or van into the device to power your lights or to run the microwave, or use it as a backup system in case your RV's batteries go dead, like ours do quite often. It also has double the power and takes up half the space of similar power stations, which makes it a lot easier to carry and take along with you. If you have the option to work remotely, this will take your office to the next level. You'll be able to power satellite internet out in the middle of nowhere, fire up a laptop, and get things done in the comfort of your camp chair. Photographers can charge their cameras and equipment quickly and easily with the AC and DC plugins and USB ports. Plug it in to charge it in just a couple hours, or use a solar panel to stay topped off while camping. It could even be set up as a backup system to power a few light circuits and a fridge during a power outage. To learn more about the Bluetti Elite 200 V2, check out the link in the description, and think about how it could come in handy at your home or for your next big adventure. Thanks so much for checking that out, guys. Now we're back and we'll install some more vinyl planks. You want to make sure your floor is nice and clean before putting down each plank. And then I like to get it close to the seam over here. And I'll lock it in along the long edge, and then I'll push it over just a little bit, get it nice and close there, and then you're going to have a little bit of a gap, potentially, and you can just kind of keep moving it back and forth until that gets nice and close, and then you lock it down. This 12x20 shed style building I built a few years ago, and you can check out the link to that build in the description below, but it's a little less than 240 square feet inside the walls, minus the wood stove area in the corner, and at about $3.29 per square foot, the cost for the vinyl planks came in around $800 for this project. I'm not an expert floor installer by any means, but I have done quite a bit of vinyl flooring at our home and then at rentals, and I've been really happy with their durability, looks, affordable pricing, and how easy they are to install. You'll be able to find much more detailed videos when you do get ready to do the install, but my goal is simply to show you that this is totally a DIY project and that it may be a great flooring solution for your space. Now, if you need to sneak a piece under some door trim, we'll take a scrap block that will hook up to the piece that we want to move, and then I can slide it along the channel now that it's in. Using the scrap piece like this protects the tongue on the good board from getting damaged. And there we go. Now we get a few easy pieces, so I'm just going to leave about a 1/4 inch gap between the door and the last piece of wood. So we'll do these at just under 7 inches. Use a table saw to rip some of the planks, and then you can use a puller tool for that last row to help the planks get a nice and snug fit to each other. Take your time with each of the measurements. Sometimes I feel like I'm putting together a puzzle when I'm doing the more intricate areas of a floor, and it's going to be easier getting the flooring for that last row in if you pop the window trim off, but there's a good chance you'll be able to fit it in like I did without too much hassle. All right, the last piece. It was pretty cool to have a completed floor by the end of the day, and like I'd mentioned, it feels like instant gratification. I started laying the planks at 1 in the afternoon, and I was finished installing them by supper time, and for our 2-year-old to try out his moves on the dance floor. The next day, I reinstalled the trim flush with the new flooring. To cover the area where the flooring butted up to the sliding glass door and around the fireplace hearth, I ripped a 3/4 inch wide by 1/4 inch thick strip of pine wood to make a transition trim piece. They were then stained and then sprayed with a couple coats of poly. Instead of having to cut longer window trim boards, I just covered the gap on the bottom with miniature trim pieces. Once the flooring was complete, I made a few other upgrades to the space since we'll be using it a lot more with an office and as a family. Here's a look at the finished flooring, and I was really happy with how it turned out for our space. But comment below and let me know what you think of luxury vinyl planks, and if you have installed one in the past, or if you plan on installing a vinyl plank floor sometime in the future. A couple other upgrades were installing solar shades for all the windows and doors, and then a mini split heat pump to keep the office cool in the summertime and the warming house heated in the wintertime. Hopefully this gives you a few ideas to help and inspire you with your next project. Take care and cheers.